We buy some.
Hello. Welcome and thank you for attending today's ceremony. I'm Air Force General Cadet Jeff Nardi. We're here today to honor our service members and remember the sacrifices they have made for duty, honor, and country. At this time, I'd like to welcome the Naugatuck High School Air Force Junior ROTC College. Please rise to the singing of the national anthem sung by our Naugatuck High School Chamber Singers.
More. Attend. Up. Present. Arm.
Present. Arm. And the rockets rise loud, almost bursting in air, getting through the night, and our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? For the land of the free and the home of the blessed.
Order. Arm.
Order. Up.
I'd like to introduce our special guest, Principal of Naugatuck High School, Mr. John Harris, Chairman of the Naugatuck Veterans Council, Mr. Johnny Bishop,
Order. Arm.
Andrew Milishi, Commander of the American Legion 417,
Hurry. Yes.
John Bishop, Naugatuck Veterans Council Chairman, Don Applegate, Naugatuck Veterans Council Secretary, William Mason, member of the Connecticut Veterans Hall of Fame, William Tillotson, American Legion Post 17, Ronald Bolsberg, American Legion Post 17, and Specialist James Bishop, CT Army National Guard. We'll now hear another selection from our chamber students.
America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and from thy good with promise, from sea Haunted by human tears, America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy goodwill brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Thank you, Chairman. Next, we'll have a roll call. Thank Gavin McKeon now to begin our roll call of members, which pays tribute to all those monsters veterans who died in our wars and conflicts in service to our nation. For World War I, we have Thomas J. Caney, Philip Edwards, and Raymond F. Ward. For World War II, we have James L. Ashmore, Robert A. Balmer, Robert R. Boyd, Franklin Vernon, Joseph P. Cordy, Eugene E. Dalton, James L. Dalton II, Theodore Descos, Patsy Desidero, Theodore A. Enriquez, Richard O. N. Matsey, John A. Feduzzi, William Fisher, Robert J. Grant, Leo Hanlon, William E. Henstreet, Edward Justice, Joseph J. Kirkzik, John Kazin, John T. Niddaw, Frank V. McCats, Edward A. Mellihan, Frank P. Mintuto. For Vietnam, we have Antino L. Alto, Hernan Beaver, Samuel A. Brewer, Eugene J. Montiari, Edward F. Milan, William J. Morton, Terrence W. Murtha, David J. Nixon, William E. Lordby, Edmund W. Postcavage, Daniel J. Radio, Joseph E. Reli, Henry R. Rakowski, George Schiller, Robert K. Sherwood, Theodore T. Schutz, Leroy F. Smith, Rinaldi W. Stokowski, Matthew R. Stauffer, William F. Stein, George Walker, Thaddeus J. Woodchuck, James F. Woods, Harold C. Worcester, Mitchell P. Zendunk, Joseph R. Zenluskas, Paul E. Fradisi, Joseph P. Holland, and John R. Schultz. Next up, we have our keynote speaker. Thank you, Captain King. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Andrew Morrissey. Andrew Morrissey is a native of Naugatuck and a graduate of Naugatuck High School, class of 1980. He attended the University of Connecticut Stores and graduated in 1985 with a Bachelor of Arts in Economics. He then attended the University of Connecticut School of Law, graduating in 1988. Andrew joined the United States Marine Corps, during his time in law school, and attended Officer Graduate School in Quantico, Virginia, and was commissioned as a second lieutenant. He thereafter attended Infantry Officer Training at the Basic School in Quantico, Virginia, before attending Naval Justice School in Newport, Rhode Island. He He then served for 4 years at St. Pendleton, California, as a judge advocate, attaining the rank of captain. Attorney Morrissey was awarded the Navy Achievement Medal, Meritorious Unit Commendation, and National Defense Service Medal during his service. Since leaving the Marine Corps in 1992, he has resided in Naugatuck, Connecticut. He has practiced law in Connecticut since 1992 and is partner at Morrissey Music LLC, specializing in workers' compensation. Andrew is also the current commander of American Legion Post 17, a veteran service group in Naugatuck, Connecticut. Andrew resides in Naugatuck with his wife, Kathleen, who works as a college and career coordinator at Naugatuck High School. His children have all attended Naugatuck High School: Jake, class of 2014, TJ, class of 2017, and Amy, class of 2023. Please welcome keynote speaker, Mr. Andrew Morrissey.
These guys are taller than me. Good morning, everyone. As a veteran, especially around Memorial Day, July 4th, Veterans Day, one of the nicest things that can happen is when someone comes up to you and says, "Thank you for your service," or gives you a pat on the back and says the same thing. It's always nice to hear that, and I know I speak for all the other veterans. But Memorial Day is a little different. Those that we honor on Memorial Day can't be here to receive those kind words or feel that pat on the back. They can't do that because in the 1770s and 1780s, they laced up their boots or got on their horse and rode off to places like Bunker Hill or Yorktown, and they never returned to Naugatuck. And in the 1860s, they got on a steam train and rode off to places like Gettysburg and Antietam, and they died there. In World War I, they boarded steamships, went to the fields of Europe and France and Belgium, and never came home to see their families again. In World War II, they got on ships and airplanes and went to places like Midway, the jungles of Guadalcanal, or the carnage at Omaha Beach. In more recent times, they boarded jetliners, went to the mountains of Korea, the jungles of Vietnam, and battlefields in Iraq and Afghanistan, never to return. So how do we thank those that we can't talk to anymore and that we can't see in person? Well, to answer that question, we have to take a step back and ask ourselves, what are we thanking them for? In that regard, there is a common thread between those that died during their active service, between we veterans who are still here, and amongst your dozen or so classmates who will soon enter military service upon graduation. The common thread that binds us is we all take the same oath upon entering military service. But what oath is given? Is it an oath to President Biden, to President Trump before him, or President Obama before him, Governor Lamont, Mayor Hess, Principal Harris, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party? No. The oath that is given is to protect and defend the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And it is by understanding, appreciating, and using the rights and responsibilities that are granted to us by the Constitution that we can truly honor those who serve. Notice that I didn't just say rights. Yes, we are all very quick to claim our rights and become indignant, if not outraged, if someone infringes on our constitutional rights. And that is as it should be. These constitutional rights separate us from every other country that has ever existed on our planet, and they are worth tenacious guarding. But what of our obligations? It is very easy and very lazy to recognize some aspect of our society that we do not like and immediately turn our back on America like a child who does not like the way that a ball game is going and says, I'm taking my ball and going home. It is very easy to correct, but it is so much more difficult, but likewise so much more admirable to identify a problem, suggest a solution or an improvement, and work, yes, work, to implement it. It is only by striving for improvement that we will improve rather than slowly decaying from within. Our country is not perfect. Anyone who says it is a fool. Nor is there a perfect school, a perfect basketball team, a perfect band or choir, a perfect math class, a perfect marriage, or a perfect job. But these institutions are all worth it because continued effort in them brings us security, fun, love, and education. Does the system granted to us by our rights and obligations under the Constitution work? I'll give you an example from my own personal experience. In 1990, I had finally gotten out of law school, done my training in the Marines, went through Naval Justice School and was deemed a judge advocate, and reported to Camp Pendleton, California. I had a lot of book knowledge and this much knowledge about what it's like to actually try a case in a courtroom, as is true with most second lieutenants who have never been there. So my commanding officer said, Morrissey, for your first few weeks here, your job is to go up to some of the courtrooms on base and watch and observe some trials. See what the prosecuting attorney is doing. Watch how the defense attorney presents their case. Watch the rulings, listen to the rulings that the military judge makes. And as I was getting ready to go up to the courtroom, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is going to be really interesting. It's a general court-martial. It's at the headquarters on base of Camp Pendleton. Maybe I'm going to see a prosecuting attorney introduce a murder weapon into evidence, or maybe it's a drug case and I'll hear exciting testimony from an undercover drug agent, or maybe with my new secret clearance, it might be an espionage case. This is going to be really exciting. And when I got there, the prosecuting attorney had put up one of the pieces of evidence against the defendant, who was a female Navy lieutenant. And the piece of evidence was a poster that was a blow-up of a photograph. And on the poster was a picture of a flower arch with some type of person who appeared to be an officiant in the middle, and the female Navy lieutenant standing on one side, and the female that she was entering a civil union with on the other side. That was her crime. She was being tried under the Uniform Code of Military Justice for being in a same-sex relationship. Today that would not happen because the law has changed. But how does such change come to pass? It came about by people understanding how our system works, calling their senators, calling their representatives, speaking to the military, and bringing about peaceful change through the correct channels. That is simply one example of how we can work to change things if we don't like the way things are. And it is through such lawful change and understanding of the Constitution that we can best honor those that have fallen. At this point, I'm going to shift gears and talk about what you, the class of 2021, have had thrown on them, and to some extent also the rising sophomores, juniors, and seniors. There will be more time to settle the waters for the younger grades before they venture into their futures, but you have had a challenge like no other. I didn't have it way back when in the class of 1980. My sons didn't have it in 2014 and 2017. Those in 2017, 18, 19, this didn't happen to them. To some degree, for a few months, the class of 2020, but you have slogged through something that no other students have ever had to. And I would like to draw a comparison. There was a famous battle involving about 30,000 Marine and Army soldiers who were told to recon into enemy territory. They were told to push north and see what they could find in terms of enemy emplacements. Headquarters and military intelligence indicated that this area was lightly defended. Then the commanding officer got dealt some very unexpected challenges. First, there was an unexpected change in the weather. During the operation, the average temperature, was between 10 to 20 degrees below zero. As these units were advancing, they started getting reports from locals that there were a lot of enemy embedded in the mountains and in the hills in the direction they were headed. And the commanding officer radioed those back to headquarters and was told, there are no enemy in your area. There's only very light resistance there. Keep going north. In early 2020, we all started to hear of a virus in faraway lands. And we were told, yeah, this is happening overseas, but not a big deal for us. In the mountainous area, the forward units of these divisions started meeting heavy resistance and engaging with strong enemy forces. Again, the commanding officer reported this back, and Washington, D.C. and headquarters said, there are no strong enemy units near you. In 2020, we were told to expect a short break from work or a short break from school. This was all we needed. We'll be back by Easter. It turns out that in that mountainous region, the 30,000 U.S. Marines and Army troops were actually being surrounded by 150,000 heavily armed and well-trained troops. And yet, from far away, these very 150,000 units, 150,000 troops that were shooting artillery and automatic weapons at the Marines, at the same time, the Marines were being told, there are no enemy troops in your area. We've been told since 2020 many things. There is a virus. The virus is the host. Wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. It's a government law. Get a vaccine. Don't get a vaccine. We're going to put a microchip in you. Some things don't change with time. But the general whose orders were to advance north with his 30,000 troops could see what was happening on the ground and was aware that he was in a very dire situation. His orders were continuing to advance north, so he had to make a decision. He had come to a crossroads. He decided that rather than waste the lives of his troops or have them all taken prisoner, he would find the weakest point of the encirclement and break out. It turns out that the weakest point of the surrounding troops was 180 degrees the other way, to the south, which is the way that they decided to fight out the very way that they had come in. There was a news reporter embedded with the troops who asked the general, "General, why are you retreating?" And in one of the most famous lines in U.S. military history, the general said, "Retreat, hell, we're not retreating, we're just advancing in another direction." You too, as the class of 2021, and again, the continued rising classes currently in high school, are at a crossroads. You're going to venture into your futures, be it college, the workforce, the military, or to the underclassmen, the continuation of education at NHS, and you have a choice too. You can surrender. You can say, "I'm not going to do as well in my college education because I had to deal with COVID when I was in high school," or "I let myself get out of shape. I haven't gotten back into good eating habits or exercise habits, but COVID happened when I was in high school," or rejoining activities, reconnecting with friends, or making new friends. You can use your COVID experience as an excuse, or you can wear it like a badge of honor, a campaign ribbon, and be known as the classes that are the most adaptable and resilient that have ever come out of Naugatuck High School because what you have had to deal with. So it's my charge to you to say, retreat hell, we're not retreating, we're going to advance in a different direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. The ceremony you're about to witness is an Air Force replaying ceremony. We ask that in respect for the solemn dignity of the ceremony, that you stand and remain silent. When the command to present arms is given, all military personnel in uniform will render a salute. It is appropriate for all others to place their right hand on their arm. Once the wreath is placed, taps will be played. Today's wreath is being placed by Naugatuck High School Air Force Junior ROTC Senior Cadets Eric Tavares and Ryan. On behalf of the student body, please rise to the post report.
Court, attention. Present arms.
Present arms.
Order, arms.
Order. Arms. Hurry. Red.
Cadets, please take your seats. Mr. Harris will now provide closing comments.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you to all of the ROTC cadets who worked to plan this event. Thank you to all of our veterans in attendance. Thank you so much to Mr. Morrissey for that really compelling speech. I'll keep my remarks brief because I don't have much to add beyond what Mr. Morrissey spoke about today. The fact that we're able to have this event feels like we are slowly beginning to return to normal. We've had now 15 months of living through a pandemic where seemingly nothing has been normal. And so, I know a lot of you are watching me through a screen in your classroom, which is not quite what we wish we could do. But the fact that we're out here on the field, that we're gathered on the track, and we have some of you up in the stands, uh, feels like things are returning to what they used to be. And yet, as as we return to normal, our lives have all been touched by this pandemic, and we've all experienced some sense of loss. And I find myself reflecting on this Memorial Day that, I come from a military family. My grandfather served in World War II and fought in Europe. My father fought in Vietnam. My mother was in the Air Force. And, my grandfather didn't talk often about his service. But one story he told me that I've been reflecting on a lot this past weekend was, the story of the death that he saw around him. And he would often, when I was not being my best self as a young man, compel me to remember that my existence, my father's existence, was because some soldier in France died when my grandfather didn't. And we often talk on Memorial Day about these very abstract ideals of freedom and independence and our rights and how the men and women who have fallen in the past fell for those things. And so I hope also that we reflect on our Memorial Days that our existence, especially for those of us who come from military families, that our very existence is often down to somebody else's sacrifice. And so I thank all of you in the stands for being so respectful for today. I thank all of you watching in the classrooms for taking time out of your very busy academic days to take these moments to remember, to honor our fallen soldiers, and reflect on the sacrifices that they've made so that we can have all the things that we've had. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
The guard saying up. Up, brother. Up. Count up. Up. Forward. Up.
Good. Attention.
Thank you guys for being here.